Hello everyone and welcome to another video. My name is Lance and today we're taking another look at the alpha version of Bloodborne. Now in this alpha test version of Bloodborne, a lot of features have been quickly disabled by the developer because this version of the game was playable by the public at Tokyo Game Show in 2014 and also as part of a public alpha test on the PlayStation Network that same year. Today we're going to be unlocking one of the disabled features and exploring it in depth. So in this alpha test, when we press the options button on the controller rather than a full in-game menu, we just get this simple screen. There's no inventory management or ability to equip or use items. If you do pick up an item in the alpha test, it's automatically added to your shortcut menu and you can just use it that way. Now let's just take a look at the final version of Bloodborne. As seen here in the Game of the Year edition, you normally get this comprehensive screen when you press the options button. Interestingly, while I was looking through the code that builds this menu, I discovered a way to enable an option that had never been seen before. Off to the right of the settings icon is a secret option called Debug. This menu is used by the developers to test every menu screen in the game at any point. You can visit any item shop, level up your character, redesign your character, and pretty much anything you can imagine. Some features are broken as they were intended only for testing earlier in the game's development. So with regard to the game's earlier development, let's go back to the alpha test, and you'll see that by backporting what I had learned about this hidden debug menu, I was able to find all the code for loading the entire menu screen as it was at this earlier point in development. The first thing to notice is that the icons aren't rendering correctly, and they're appearing behind these squares. Also on the right are the player character's stats, with the blood echo count actually being called souls here. Across the grid of icons are basically all the options you would expect, as well as the aforementioned debug screen, which had helped me find this menu in the first place. From here we can actually visit the game's item shop. There's not much interesting to buy, and all the items just have this large pill bottle placeholder graphic. We can also see a very early version of the game's character creation screen here, and the level up screen, which is slightly buggy but does work. So just working our way across the grid, we can for the first time ever see a very early version of the game's inventory screen. We can see the few items we're carrying at the moment. Weapons have no high resolution icons, names or descriptions. The same mostly goes for the clothes we're wearing, which we can see here are called the Yarnum Hunter set. We can read the item description for the foul-smelling pill for the first time though. It says it will increase stamina regeneration speed. That's wrong though, as it actually heals damage over time. Next in the menu is the settings screen, which is the simple menu to which we were previously restricted in the alpha. Back to the main menu screen, we also have screens for viewing and changing clothing and weapons we have equipped. Further down, we can change what items are in our shortcut menu. Below this we have two slots for equipping magic, which was obviously never implemented in the final game. There are no items anywhere in the alpha code that can be placed in this screen, so it's likely this was just something that didn't get very far along in the game's planning. So now that we've unlocked the entire menu and can fully explore and use items in the alpha version of Bloodborne, this is where things can get really interesting. Let's go ahead and give ourselves every single item that exists in the alpha version of the game. This will let us see every item that had been built for the game as of September 2014, which is about 6 months before the game was finished. There's going to be a lot to go through here, so bear with me and let's take a look. Jumping immediately into the inventory, we can now see a huge array of items. There's a lot of items to take a look at here, and we're mostly going to focus on the consumable items which actually work and have something to show for themselves. Near the top we have the online play items and the notebook, which all work as you'd expect. Then we come to a testing item called Reset and Start Again for use at E3. This item seems self-explanatory, but for whatever reason it doesn't actually work here. Below the foul-smelling pill we have an antidote for HP poison, followed by blood purifier, and then beast blood. I love how this has a unique little animation where the player drinks from a bottle. Using this item lowers your resistance to therianthropy, a beasthood status in the alpha. I'm not sure what this does exactly. The Molotov, throwing knife, oil urn, pebble, and poison knife all work as you'd expect. The backwards thrown Molotov, beast lure, and healing prevention don't work at all, although these all did end up in the final game anyway. We have a blood coating item that increases weapon attack power, followed by magic enchantment and thunder enchantment. Both coat your weapon in sparks and increase damage dealt. Gun power upgrade, another reset and start again, signpost, telescope, and lantern all don't work at all. Then there's 3 items that say time management. These also seem to do nothing. So here's where things get even more interesting. We come to a series of items that are called fresh livers. In the final game we would find cold blood of varying qualities that act as portable blood echoes that you can use anywhere. Here in the alpha, these items were called fresh liver, and there were 6 different qualities: fresh liver, large fresh liver C, D, E, and F. The descriptions match the qualities, saying things like receive a small amount of souls, receive a large amount of souls, and so on. Let's go ahead and use a fresh liver, and we'll see a totally unseen animation associated with these items. The smallest fresh liver has a very simple effect, but if we move to the highest grade liver we get a spectacular animation showing a huge number of souls being absorbed. These items grant 200 souls, 400 souls, 800 souls, 3,000 souls, 8,000 souls, and 20,000 souls at the highest grade. Perhaps the most significant of all the items we see here though are the fresh livers of bosses. Just like in Dark Souls and Demon Souls before it, Bloodborne was originally going to have boss characters drop fresh liver items that grant the player a large number of souls. Here they're all named after the bosses that were planned to appear in the game, and we see the order in which they were going to be encountered. I'll go ahead and translate all the ones from the main game to the best of my ability for you. Father Gascoigne's fresh liver, Father Herbert's fresh liver, the soul of the church leader. Father Herbert is also known as Father Norbert in the game's alpha version English dub. Self-skinned fresh liver, the soul of the blood-starved beast. Hemwick Witch's fresh liver, the soul of an eye collector. Fresh liver of a snake ball. Succubus's fresh liver, the soul of a lesser demon of death and darkness. It's worth noting that Succubus, lesser demon of death and darkness, is what Murgo's wet nurse is called internally. Martyr Logarius's fresh liver, soul of the King's Reaper. Fresh liver of Mikolash's cast-off shell, the soul of the university professor. Rom the vacuous spider's fresh liver. Incomplete false god's fresh liver. Apostle's fresh liver, soul of the false god. Saint Laura's fresh liver, soul of the beast saint. Fresh liver of Kos, fallen child of the moon. Fresh liver of Abriatus's inheritor. Fresh liver of the moon's messenger, soul of the nightmare's inheritor. So with this list of boss souls in this order, there's a lot to speculate about with regard to how the game's storyline was once planned to flow. Past these items, we see bosses that we would have fought in the game's Chalice dungeon, unrelated to the main game's story flow. We'll go past these to get to the last few items we'll check out in this video, which are 6 magical items. First we have Augur of Kos. Yes, I know it says Gos, but that's what Kos is called in the Japanese version of Bloodborne, even in the final game, so I'm going to translate it the same way the official localization team did for the final game. This magic basically works the same way as Augur of Ebrietas does in the final game, except the tentacles don't actually hurt enemies. Instead, a huge spike randomly comes out of the ground. There's no way to control where the spike appears, but if it does hit an enemy, it will deal damage. After this we have Rage of Kos. This is mostly useless magic. It causes a tiny meteorite to fall from the sky. Once again, there's no way to control where it will land, so you just have to get lucky to actually hurt an enemy. Then there's Reflective Light Wall. It says it will reflect a magic attack. I couldn't find anything to try reflecting with it, but it does knock back enemies at least. Consume Sacred Serum says it will heighten defensive power. It doesn't seem to actually make any difference though. Compelling Awakening says it will heal yourself and friends. It seems to be exactly the same item that became the Quiet Bell in the final game. Double Accelerator acts the same as the old Hunter Bone in the final game, altering your evasive movements. The Cane of Shock acts like the tiny Tonitrus from the final game. As the description says, it causes a shockwave that creeps across the ground. Stalker is an attack similar to the Executioner's Gloves from the final game, but it shoots 3 flying messengers at the enemy. Opportunistic Chance acts the same as the Shaman Bone Blade from the final game, causing hostility between friends and foes. Follower's Obligation disguises the player as a messenger. There is a similar item in the final game, but this one looks really weird. You just become one big messenger, and there's also some Z-fighting on the polygons causing the invisible player and the messenger's arms to clip through each other a lot. It looks really messy. So that takes us to the end of all the consumable items in the alpha. I hope you found some of this interesting. It's sometimes tricky to take some of these discoveries and actually turn them into interesting little videos, but I certainly keep trying my best, and as always, it's better for me to give you more information than to leave something out just because I don't personally think it would be entertaining. If you did enjoy this video or found it interesting, feel free to let me know by hitting the like button or leaving a friendly comment. Definitely go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, as I've still got tons of content to work through and show in future videos. Either way, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.